Hi, welcome back to my YouTube channel. Today's video is concerning some of the pitfalls that owning a driving school will present throughout your years of owning it. Today, I want to talk to you about just a few handful of things. I know there's always pitfalls, what you consider a pitfall and I consider an issue, or maybe two different things. When I first started out 6 years ago, I would have people sign up for the course or the driving part. Like we do the full course driver's ed here, and we also do the drive onlys. And so we was trying to get our name out. You know, you're new, you're young, you're hungry. And a lot of times we would sign up students for driver's ed and just trust them that they would pay the first day, because we were trying to get our name out. We may not have had everything quite up and running, so just make a payment the first day. Well, what we found out is throughout the course of the time, until I got more automated through payment portals and things of that nature, students would sign up, parents would sign their students up and not show for the first day of class, or they would show and their brother would pick them up from class or drop them off, or some relative or some friend, and they wouldn't pay. And as you know, that's kind of puts the tension between you as the owner and them as the parent, and also too the student, because it's not the student's fault that that the parent won't pay or can't pay, or whatever the reason be. I certainly understand. So it becomes a stressful situation between the three of you, the parent, the teacher, and the student. And so after about a year or so of kind of doing that, I'll be honest with you, I didn't have that much trouble. But if you're expecting, $4,000 to come in, $5,000, and you've got bills, you've got payroll, you've got the rent due and your home mortgage and things like that, you need the $5,000 so that you can provide for your family. So as I became more automated, getting more payment platform, and as my business grew, and to where I can be more automated, that became less and less. In other words, the way I do it now, still you don't have to do it my way, but the way I can do it and the way I feel comfortable doing it is the student signs up through my website, and they pay through a payment portal, and I have my money. And that way, because I am a trustworthy business and all my instructors are very trustworthy, we're going to do what you paid for, whether it's the full course, whether it's the drive only, the 6 hours I mentioned earlier that are required here in our local state. We take care of it. We're going to see it through the end. And that way I have my money, let's just say, once again, the $4,000 or $5,000 that I'm short from a previous time, I have my money, I can pay bills, my mortgage, my payroll, things of that nature. So it helps me be more automated. It helps me have a better cash flow to the system. Another thing too is happened, and it doesn't happen very, very often, but it has happened to me a few times. As a matter of fact, as we were filming this video, March 9th, 2020, I have a student that hasn't paid for the 6 hours of driving, but yet they emailed me wanting to sign up for 6 more hours. So things like that. People promise to pay and things of that nature, and I get bills come up, emergency situations come up, and if somebody said, well, I can pay you tomorrow or next week I get paid, can you accept $100? That would be fine. Just kind of keep me in the loop of what's going on, and I'm fine with that. Okay. So one loophole, one problem I'm run into is people not paying for classes, period, and not showing up. And another thing too, and I'll explain what the not showing up in a minute can lead. And also to people just using your service and not paying you. And that's a lot of times I still have to go through the process a few times. I trust people, and unfortunately that doesn't work too well. Getting back to the non-payment of the class, another thing too that can affect you is this. Let's just say I have 3 people not show. Well, I may have only had 10 slots open, and I thought those 3 people were going to show. Well, come the first day of class, and I've have a waiting list to get into this class. Maybe I could have, if I knew those 3 weren't going to show, then I could call or arrange the next 3 students to come in, and they might be eager to pay up front and things of that nature, so I would have gotten my $4,000 or $5,000. So that's where, now with the automated thing too, the good part of it is that you have very few cancellations, and if you do have a cancellation, they're willing to reschedule because they've invested money into your program. They're not going to want to be without their services, right? So that's the main thing for me. I have friends of mine that are in this industry. They wait until the end, and they ask, for the money at the end. Unfortunately, where I stand, from my standpoint, and they haven't had any trouble. My standpoint's a little different. Yours may be where you can ask for it later, and if that's your business model, that's fine. As long as you're getting paid and you're happy with what you're doing. Another thing, what I've noticed too, some of the pitfalls is adult drivers wanting to bargain with you and stuff. I don't do well with negotiation. Me personally, I just don't. Maybe you have I have a package where it's 6 2-hour sessions, 3 2-hour sessions, excuse me. And they'll say, well, can you do 1 hour? No, I can't do 1 hour because the time I get in the car or have my instructor get into the car, drive to our location, it's 20-30 minutes, and then 20-30 minutes back to their home. Well, I'm paying 2 hours for my instructor, and we're only getting 1 hour worth of payment. Another thing I don't do personally as much, some people do, and there's nothing wrong with that, is pick them up at their house or their location. Sometimes we do meet with them if it's close to our location, and we're in the we try not to go out of the way as much as possible. And like an example, I had a student yesterday, March 8th, 2020. She wanted me to pick her up at her house and drop her off at her house at 10 o'clock. It was 8 a.m. to 10. But I have a 10 o'clock appointment here, and there's no way. I'd either shortchange her. It'd take me 30 minutes I would probably have to drop her off at 9:30 to get here by 10, or if I drop her off at 10 at her house, then we're looking at getting here at 10:30. So my 10 o'clock appointment is now 30 minutes late getting to drive. So it's not fair for them. So I rarely do that unless if it's an emergency or things like that. Sometimes if we're in an area, we may meet at a grocery store or something like that, parking lot where I can go to my office location faster, and they could be near their home quicker, and that's fine if we can pull it off. But most of the time we cannot. Another pitfall I can see really quickly is these students in our local area, and I don't know about your local area, but these students live and die by these drive times and these schedules. They're super excited about getting their permit and their license. That's a rite of passage, and I certainly understand that. We try very, very hard to accommodate that. But I've had students, and this is one in particular story, their family was vacation, I think in the Bahamas or Caribbean or something like that. They flew their son back early so that they could get to their drive times. Okay? With that said, you cannot be late. You have to be on time. And yesterday I had a student, at 12 o'clock, she was sitting, in my office, and she was ready to go. And that's fine, that's good, but it limits my ability to kind of catch my breath. After you drive 4, 5, 6 students in a row, you need to go to the office and work, get some paperwork or things like that. And sometimes you can't do that because you have a student right in the car. One particular time, it's just a funny little story. I was with a student. We finished up the driving as a teenage student, and I was just kind of telling her what we needed to do, work on next week or the next time, to where she could work on it and things of that. One young man just jumped in the back of the car. He thought he was ready to go, and so I didn't even get a chance to get out of the car and stretch. We basically took off. Once the young lady got out of the car and the young man got in the front seat, which is fine. It does help, but it is frustrating sometimes if you go one after one after one, and that's good for business. That means you're profitable and things of that nature, but it's also tiresome because when you're dealing with a 14, 15-year-old that's never driven, it's the extra pressure on you, it's extra bumps and curves and running off the roads and things of that nature that you got to deal with. Also, what I would recommend to help you is book maybe an hour or two leeway, maybe an hour and a half. Know where the restrooms are at, know where some of the gas stations in the local area. They feel like if you go to a school or something of that nature, that way when you get a chance, you got an hour in between, hour and a half. Maybe you can run to a local fast food restaurant and grab something and kind of decompress for a moment. That would be beneficial for you. So it's a constant one right after another. Another pitfall that we run into, as I said earlier, students are excited. The parents are wanting them to get their license. Maybe they're tired of being a soccer mom or soccer dad, and they just want their kid to start growing up too. And so because of the pandemic and because of the nature of the business, this business is backlogged. It doesn't matter if you're a private commercial driving business. It doesn't matter if you're public school. It doesn't matter anything. Okay. So we're backed up. Okay, it's just the way it goes. So they'll take the class and then they'll start getting highly upset at you because they may have to wait a month or 2 or 3 or 4, and you're running 7 days a week with your instructors, and you just can't handle it anymore. And it's because they want to get their kid to have their permit the 15th, their very first day of 15, birthday, or 16, and that's all good, but sometimes you just cannot. And if you think about your particular license, whether you're overseas or whether you're here in the United States, you adults or my age or close to it, I don't remember the day I got my permit. I remember it, but I couldn't tell you the actual day and time I got my permit. And so that's where they get upset with you. A lot of time, and then too, the DMV, local DMV, the state DMV is backed up 8 to 10 weeks, and so they're trying to squeeze it all in. Or during the summer, summer school, summer's out, and to be honest with you, during the summer even, there's only 7 to 8 weeks, and maybe 9 depending on your school, whether you're out. So 9 weeks, even though it seems like a lot, it's not. And two, people have vacations you got to work around and things like that. So it's highly stressed. And then the next pitfall that we'll speak of is scheduling. We do it because we're a private business. We kind of cater to the clientele and just kind of work around their schedules as best as possible. And we do a pretty good job with it. But you have sports, you have school, you have homework, you have vacations, you have sickness, you have car trouble, you have traffic, you have people forgetting, which is normal, even though our software gives them a reminder 2 days before, hey, it's time to drive. So it's very tedious work. It takes, a class of 30, that's 180 hours of trying to find drive time. It may take someone a week or two to finally come up with the 3 dates and times that we can agree on, the parent can agree on, and the student has open. Okay, so that's tough. That's really tough. During the winter months is even tougher because you got not daylight savings time, but when daylight savings time ends, you lose a lot, and it gets dark around 5:36. Well, you have to shut it down because I'm not driving a teenager at night for various reasons. So it gets a little harder to schedule. But then in the summer, like I said earlier, summer months you have vacations, sports, travel ball, church events, youth camps and things of that nature you try to work around. Well, if you got a vacation a week, you got a travel baseball tournament for a week, and you've got a church camp, which is all great, and I certainly encourage everything, then you're down to 6 weeks out of the summer that you can drive versus 9 weeks. I have had 2 students in particular. One student out of the 9 weeks was gone 7. And then one girl was gone, I counted it up, it was like 42 days. She was out of 49. So, that's impossible, okay? So sometimes parents and students want to do everything, and I certainly encourage that. But at some point, you got to say, okay, driver's ed, we got to knock driver's ed out. Or basketball or golf or tennis or whatever sport your child's into. But you can't do driver's ed because you got to finish basketball season. Things like that. I wish some of the parents would be more open-minded to say, hey, we've got to finish driver's ed before we start basketball season, or we got to finish basketball season before we go into driver's ed. And if the kid doesn't get their permit right at 15, maybe 15 and a half, they're still going to be able to drive. And so it's really a pitfall. Another pitfall too, and I'll end this video on this last note. Here locally, the DMV test to get your permit, get your license, is all algorithm based, and it's all things of that nature. You may take the test today and it's all about alcohol, or you may take a test tomorrow and it's all about points and who has right of ways and things like that. So it's very difficult to tell as an instructor what to study for. I just tell them to study the entire book and be ready. That's all I really can do, even though everybody, we haven't seen the test. The DMV won't let us see it. We do have some ideas here or there, but like I said, I may have one student with alcohol on their exam, one student with points, one student with who has right of way. I'm just using those as an illustration. As an instructor, I have no idea what to tell the new students. Actually, we have a class starting very, very soon. I have no idea what to tell them because they're their algorithm, and we haven't seen them. So it's a real challenge. The parent always thinks that, hey, you should know, and in a sense I agree with them, but we don't. And I know why, because we would probably sell them on YouTube, or post them on our website and things like that. So people are sometimes dishonest. Well, this is the end of the video. Thank you so much for watching. If you like the video and the content, please subscribe, like the bell notification. Please watch it. And if you got any questions, feel free to leave them in the comments. Thank you.